Hello everyone, it's Miss Angela from the Fort Worth Public Library, and I am excited to be back this week with another collaboration with the Fort Worth Nature Center. Today we are talking about wildflowers. Do you see some flowers anywhere? I see some. They're on my shirt. I hope that you have been able to get out and take a walk or take a drive and see some of the beautiful wildflowers that are out this year. First, I have a song about flowers that I'm going to share with you. And this one might take a little bit longer to learn, but what I want you to do is do the actions along with me. So it goes like this. We're going to do flowers like this. Make a flower with your hand. Daffodils. We're going to flop it down because daffodils are a little floppy. Mountains. We're going to say mountains and make a mountain with our hands. Rolling hills like this. Fireside like this. And then we're going to say doo-wop-a-doo-wop, and we're going to snap. Okay, ready? I like the flowers, I like the daffodils, I like the mountains, I like the rolling hills, and I like the fireside when the lights are low, singing doo-wop-a-doo-wop-a-doo-wop-a-doo-wop. You like that one? Let's do it again. I like the flowers, I like the daffodils, I like the mountains, I like the rolling hills, and I like the fireside when the lights are low, singing doo-wop-a-doo-wop-a-doo-wop-a-doo-wop. This song can also be sung as a round, and a round means that more than one person is singing the same song, but they're starting at different times. You can also do this with a song that you might know, like Row, Row, Row Your Boat. That's a good one to sing around too. But I'm going to do a demonstration. Ready? You can pick which one to sing along with and which one to do the moves with. I like the flowers, I like the daffodils, I like the mountains, I like the rolling hills, and I like the fireside when the lights are low. Rolling hills, and I like the fireside when the lights are low. Singing doo-wop-a-doo-wop-a-doo-wop-a-doo-wop. All right. Thanks for joining me on that one. Now I'm going to share with you some poems about flowers. And the first one comes to us from a book called When Green Becomes Tomatoes, Poems for All Seasons, and it's by Julie Fogliano with illustrations by Julie Morstad. Thanks very much to Macmillan for letting us share this story with you. I'm reading it through the Fort Worth Public Library Access through Overdrive on the Libby app. So I'm going to start kind of in the middle here. There's our first picture. April 12th. Rain makes frogs hop in a hurry. April 23rd. There are things that are yellow and new and popping up everywhere, and there are red rubber boots with the mud on the inside and maybe a frog, and everything is squishing and everyone is soggy, but the sometime sun is just enough for a robin. April 27th. Today, under a magnolia tree, I ran into a dachshund named Paul. He was very much a sausage with paws and a nose. Poor Paul! If only he would look up for a second and notice the magnolias with their pink and their white and their gentle flutters, he would soon realize that it's not so bad to be a dog, tied to a tree in the shade when it's springtime and fluttering. May 6th. Everywhere is chirping, and now there is purple. May 10th. Lilac sniffing is what to do with a nose when it is May and there are lilacs to be sniffed. May 20th. Enough already, I whispered to the clouds, just loud enough for the sun to overhear, but not enough to wake the rain. The strawberries are furious, and I think I just heard even the roses sigh. June 10th. I don't know much about flowers. I don't know their names or how they like to grow in sun or shade, in morning or night. I don't know where they began or how they traveled by boat or by bird, and whether or not the rain makes them shiver or bloom. But I know how they lean and bend toward the light, wide open as if singing, their voices, silent but everywhere, fill up the daytime, a song much more than purple and beyond every red, a song that makes me stop and listen and forget and not care at all that I don't know much about flowers. And that's the end of the portion that I'll be sharing with you. Next, I'm going to read a poem from a very old book, and it is called Marigold Garden, and it's written and illustrated by Kate Greenaway, who is a really famous author and illustrator in England. This was originally published in 1885, which is 135 years ago, so it's a long time. And because she lived in England, the wildflowers that I'm going to show you from this poem, they're not ones that you'll find here in Texas, but they're ones that you would find in England. All right, there's our page. Little girls and little lambs. In the Maytime flowers grow. Little girls in meadows go. Little lambs frisk with delight, and in the green grass sleep at night. Little birds sing all the day, oh, in such a happy way. All the day the sun is bright, little stars shine all the night. The cowslip says to the primrose, how soft the little spring wind blows. The daisy and the buttercup sing every time that they look up, for beneath the sweet blue sky they see a pretty butterfly. The butterfly, when he looks down, says, what a pretty flower town. The end. Thanks so much for joining us today. Now I'm going to pass it to Mr. Michael at the Nature Center, who will tell you more about wildflowers. See you next time.
Hello everyone, this is Michael Perez with the Fort Worth Nature Center and Refuge. I want to welcome you here on this beautiful Friday to learn a little bit about wildflowers. Thank you to the Fort Worth Public Library for reading that story. I really appreciate working with y'all, and I know our audiences and your audiences enjoy that. And thank you for joining us in this virtual presentation. Now, we are going to be talking about wildflowers. And wouldn't you know that today, April 24th, is Texas Wildflower Day? What a coincidence, right? So we're going to talk a little bit about wildflowers, the importance of wildflowers. We're going to talk about the parts of a wildflower and a plant. And then we'll kind of take a little walk and see if we can see some wildflowers that are blooming right now. So that's what we're going to be doing today. Now, wildflowers are very important for humans, for us, and also for wildlife. Now, for us, we just get to enjoy them. As we walk around and see flowers blooming, it's just nothing's better than that. Just seeing the flowers in different colors, the different varieties. It's really, really fun for me, and I'm sure for many of you as well. But for wildlife, it's very important because wildflowers serve as a source of food. They get pollen and nectar. It's a place for shelter. Some little small arachnids and insects can hide in these wildflowers. So wildflowers serve a great purpose for us. Now, let's talk a little bit about the parts of a wildflower. Now, in order for a wildflower to grow, it must have a couple of things, or to survive. Roots underneath the ground to anchor it and take in nutrients, hold those nutrients and so forth. A nice sturdy stem to keep it nice and upright. Leaves so it can make food so that it can grow and produce these beautiful wildflowers. Now, amongst the wildflower itself, it has different parts. First of all, the beautiful coloration on the petals. You have the petals first. Can you say petals? So the petals are very important. Again, it attracts wildlife and produces that really attractive color. Other part of the wildflower is something called the stamen. The stamen is where all the pollen, the small grains, if you will, small particles that help with the growth of that, the future actually of that wildflower. We'll talk about that in a second. The other part is the pistil, which is another important part of the flower. And these two parts are very important because this is what allows future wildflowers. So inside of that stamen are these little pollen, little particles. And then when a bee, a butterfly, or a small insect gets on the plant to get that pollen or get that nectar, all those little tiny microscopic little tiny hairs on that insect, all that pollen collects. It's like me eating Cheetos. I get all the Cheetos all over my beard. It's a mess. You don't want to see it. So all that pollen gets on them, and then when they fly to another plant, they drop that pollen off because it falls off those little hairs, and that's what causes the process. That's called pollination, particularly cross pollination. Can you say pollination? Great. So all these animals, like bees and insects, like butterflies, that go from plant to plant, these are called pollinators. Beetles, wasps, all sorts of these insects help, and they're called pollinators because they allow the pollen to go from one place to the other. So that's cross-pollination. A plant itself actually can self-pollinate. If the pollen comes out of their stamen and goes into the pistil part of the plant, then they can actually pollinate as well, and that's called self-pollination. So all of these parts play a major role in the life of a wildflower. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go for a walk and see what wildflowers we have blooming in the nature center, and maybe you have some growing in your backyard or near you. All right, let's go for a little walk and see what wildflowers we can find. So right here, before we look at some of these flowers, on here we actually have some pollinators. Here's a butterfly. If I can try to get it. Oh, there it is, right there. Y'all see that butterfly? So that butterfly right now is gathering, getting some nectar, and then also getting some pollen on it so he can spread it. Look at, it's moving his legs, get in there and getting some food. So that's great. So there's a butterfly. We also have, I'm going to pan out or zoom out again, and there's a bee. There's a bee over here I want you to see. Well, he keeps moving. They're buzzing around. They're buzzing around. Here's a beautiful yellow flower here called a puccoon. And the jets are about to fly over, so just bear with me for 1 second. All right. So hopefully that's the end of the jets for a few minutes. But I want to take you over here and show you a couple of flowers. This right here is called a prairie verbena. Beautiful purple flowers. Bees have been hopping on this. It's really, really tasty for them. Over here, we have some, zoom out a little bit. We have some wild onions. Beautiful purple flowers. Very common in backyards. We have a lot in our backyard. So wild onion. Zoom out again and see what else we have. Hope you're enjoying seeing these wildflowers. Encourage you to go out and see wildflowers in your backyard. That'd be fun. See what kind of flowers you have out here in your backyard. This one right here, it's kind of hard to see, but this purple, you can see it's actually closed off. It hasn't opened yet. This is called a prairie celestial, and eventually they'll open up and produce this really lavender, really beautiful purple flower. A lot of individuals who go looking for flowers, that's one of them they just love to see. Love to see that one. Pan out again, kind of see what kind of habitat we're in. Just this open prairie. It's hoping to find us our state flower, but we'll see all the other flowers that are blooming along the trail as well. See if we can get right here. I can get this not bumblebee, I'm sorry. This bee. There he is, kind of front and center. So you can see he's pollinating. If you get really close, you can see all those little hairs it has on its body. And all that pollen gets collected on it. And they can put it in their feet, like little baskets. And they fly off and go take it to other plants. Warning, another plane is coming. So bear with us. It's a really large plane. In fact, I'll let you see it. I know kids, you like seeing planes. There he goes. Pretty cool. Here's another one of my favorite flowers. This one is called a wine cup. It looks like a little cup. And inside of that, inside of it is all the pollen and nectar. And this actually is a good example of a plant that will be used as shelter. So it's so cupped, you'll find little insects that are living in there. So that's a cool strategy for animals to use plants as a place to hide. It's a shelter. Just showing you a little bit again. All the flowers that are blooming. Now wildflowers come in all different times of the summer. You have some that come in early spring, and then some kind of wait a little bit and come out in middle of summer, and then you have some that come towards the end of summer. And that's really beneficial for animals that are migrating, like monarch butterflies. Ooh, there's a butterfly in front of us. It was orangish, so I was thinking right on cue. But you have birds who need seeds. So all these wildflowers, they grow at different times. And because they grow at different times, they provide food throughout the entire time that animals are migrating. Oh, here's some blue bonnets. Here's one right here. There's our state flower, the Texas bluebonnet. There's several species of Texas bluebonnet. Whenever they were picking the bluebonnet, they decided to include all the different species of them because some of them look very similar. Some are a little taller than others, and then some are a little shorter, the ones we have. Here's another bee. Oh, he flew off. There he is. So you kids, I hope you're seeing this, you see how active these bees are and how important these wildflowers are. All right. I think our last flower we're gonna look at is right over here. We are probably already seen, but here's a really nice group of them, these puccoons. And I wanted to show you this right here in particular to show you an insect. There's an insect on top of here. I just can't find him. Where is he? Oh, there it is right there. So you can see this insect here is not just bees and butterflies. You also have other insects that are getting on these flowers and looking at them, enjoying them and getting that pollen. Alrighty, well that concludes our presentation or program on wildflowers. I hope you enjoyed seeing the different types. We saw several species just on a very short section of our trail. So I hope that you got to enjoy them and encourages you to go in your backyard and look at the wildflowers you have. Believe it or not, you have them, they're there. It's just a matter of you going and looking for them. I hope you learned a little bit about what pollination is, the importance of pollination, as far as allowing the wildflowers to spread out and be more diverse, all the different types of flowers. Hopefully you understood the importance of it and what utilize those wildflowers, like pollinators such as beetles and wasps and bees and butterflies and moths, all those types of animals. And they're so important, and without them we wouldn't have the diversity of plant life that we have. So enjoy your wildflowers, enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll see you next week. Bye bye everybody.